So let me ask you this. During the primary, Harris County, our county, where we live, it was a disaster. We feared it, but the number of just an outrageous amount of absentee ballots were rejected. The person that replaced Brother Chris Hollins, Wheeler's own, was forced to resign. What is your read as to how it went so bad? And from the NAACP, where do you guys stand on what happened with the primary election in March?
Well, I tell you, Lynn Mumford, who's speaking tonight for the NAACP, is really out educating people on how severe the absentee ballot issue was for African Americans in our county. And I would urge anybody to hear her. She's very articulate and very concise and deliberate in her presentation. The whole voter suppression and voter oppression movement that is being engineered by very wealthy people served to do several things. One, of course, confuse the process, and then to frustrate would-be voters to the point that they would just give up on voting itself. And then the absentee ballot issue, with all of the unclear language and the instructions, all of the technical rules, it resembles the poll tax years, right? And it accomplished what it was designed to accomplish. Voting was already, Texas led the state in being the nation being the most difficult state for voting before SB 1, before voter suppression laws were ever made. And so this just exacerbated the circumstance. And our seniors who know, these are absentee ballot voters, they were disenfranchised from the voting process, from the electoral process, which is unconstitutional. Yeah. So yes, it severely damaged voter participation and voter turnout. And now you've got even younger adults saying they are exhausted from the by the process.
Yeah.
Voter exhaustion.
And they're trying to fix a problem that didn't exist. There was no voter fraud. Donald Trump won Texas by a wide margin. All of these people that we were afraid would gerrymander, they all won, and yet,
yes,
they manufactured this need to sow this kind of confusion. And it seems to be for the reason that you said. It is to cause so much, it's
yes,
too much.
Well, all during the work we were doing against voter suppression, I debated several proponents of SB 1 and voter suppression laws. And I would always ask, are you willing to admit publicly that there was not voter fraud to any degree worth talking about? Can you admit that? And all along that campaign trail, not one of those good Christian, evangelical, God-loving, Jesus-loving people, neither of them were willing to say publicly the truth. Now, during the commercial breaks, they would say, well, you're right, but on camera would not. Not until about a month or two ago, I was having another conversation on the Isaiah factor, and the individual finally admitted on camera, well, no, it wasn't voter fraud. We have to admit it, because I cornered them on it. Here's my point. No one would go to a doctor and the doctor says, I'm going to give you a major surgery that's going to cost you X number of dollars for an illness you might have in 5 years. I have no evidence of it. There's no prognosis. There's no diagnosis, rather. But just in case you have need for this, I'm going to give you a liver transplant. I'm going to give you a heart transplant now, just in case you might have heart disease somewhere in the future. I have no indication of it whatsoever. Nobody would do that. That's what Texas and other states did as it relates to these voter laws. They created a diagnosis that was false, fake, and phony, fictitious, and they promoted it with religious zest and zeal and fervor, and put their names on it with passion, sold it to a segment of the American public, and most of them, many of them believed it, others knew it was a lie, but they supported the lie just to validate the voter suppression tactics of making these laws. And so this society, and yet these are supposed to be our leaders, and many of them claim to, of course, be godly
And
leaders.
so you brought it, you landed it exactly where I was going to land it. There's no place in my Bible where God is a deceiver and, you know, he condones liars and lie in my name. And I just think we need to talk about that more. But I will move on